how have I not met you before? Like, we've been years together. Yeah.
So it was not the easiest thing to kind of adapt to.
That would be the normal reaction, I guess.
It's so easy to have this community
absolutely.
Instantaneously.
And I broke down, like I thought I cannot do this.
I think what I really appreciate about Esade,
I'm like, oh my god, this feels like philosophy.
For me, it was super hard my first year balancing all that. Freshman 15 is not a lie.
I agree that there's a side to it of getting to know yourself and like spending time with yourself and knowing what's right for you. It can be tricky, I mean, I guess.
But I tell myself to take a deep breath and kind of trust myself a little bit more.
New topics, new beginnings, new me.
Hello everybody and welcome to You Topics. My name is Sofía Arango.
And I'm Mateu.
And we will be presenting all the uncovered topics of university life, our day-to-day, and everything you need to know about what is going on behind the scenes. Today we have Amina, and we'll be having a conversation surrounding the start of university life and how it's been so far.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm Amina, as you know. I'm originally from Cairo, Egypt, and I'm here studying BITLASI, which is, for everyone who doesn't know, the Bachelor in Transformational Leadership and Social Impact. I grew up in a very businessy household, so my parents both worked in multinationals, and it was like all we talked about at home was business, and I was like, I'm 100% not going to business school. And then I came across Esade and BITLASI specifically, and I was like, this is perfect.
And can we talk a little bit about the fact that you're from Cairo, you moved here? Like, why specifically Spain? Was there something about Spain that you liked?
I applied kind of everywhere. And honestly, one of the bigger reasons was because Esade and the program specifically, but Barcelona is such an amazing city. There's sun, there's the mountains, there's the beach, there's the clubs. The university itself, it offers you so much.
I remember first year, I would be in such a big classroom that even 2 months in, I would be like, oh, there's a new person in our class. And they'll be like, he had always been here. And I was like,
but that still happens like now. Like, I'm still sometimes I talk to someone and I was like, how have I not met you before? Like, we've been years together.
That's alarming.
But that's not your case. So you would say that that's not like your reality?
No. So I think we're around 50 in my class, like my year. And we're 27 plus nationalities, which is an insane circle of people. And it really comes to show when you're like kind of socializing in general, which is super nice because you get to experience people. Obviously, we study in English, but a lot of people's first language isn't English. And a lot of people are like multilingual because they come from different parts of the world. So it's so interesting because you don't need the language when you come here. So it's easy to get along everywhere. And Spanish isn't so hard to learn.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
And how was it living Cairo? Like, do you miss it? How did you adapt like to the change? Or how do you study before outside of Cairo? Like, had you been outside of?
I grew up between Geneva, Switzerland and Cairo, Egypt.
You're international.
A little bit. But no, I thought I was international. I was like, I'm not staying at home and I'm gonna travel and it's fine because I'm used to it. But then I came to Barcelona and I was 17 and my parents didn't come with me. And it was kind of still COVID and it was very...
tricky,
So it was not the easiest thing to kind of adapt to. But I think it wears off and you get around to it because everyone else is experiencing the same thing.
I think that's also really important. And for example, it's very interesting because Mateu is here from Spain, but I'm actually from Colombia. So I was also in COVID and my plan was to come here with my parents and they closed the borders. I had to come on my own. And I think part of having the difficulties or challenges to it actually makes you more resilient. Maybe would you like to talk about a bit more about how it was like this first month coming here to Barcelona, to Esade?
You know how there's a little break between shops and restaurants during the day, your siesta time. And it was my first time to Spain. I grew up between Cairo and Geneva and I've traveled, but I'd never been to Spain before, and specifically Barcelona. And I arrived to Sant Cugat, out of all places, which Sant Cugat is a small town. And the city center doesn't close for siesta, but Sant Cugat really does. And I arrive and it's COVID and I'm carrying all my bags and I put my stuff, I moved into the resi, which is on campus.
Yeah, we'll talk about that now.
And so I get to the resi and then I don't have roaming and I don't have Wi-Fi outside of the resi. So, okay, I'm going to go buy groceries or buy a SIM card or whatever. And I go to Cugat and everything's closed, and I sit on a sidewalk and I start crying. And I'm like, I miss my family.
That would be the normal reaction, I guess. That would be the reaction I would have, at least. So did you overcome that quickly? Like, did you make friends at the residence quite easily, or
you get used to it super fast. I think for me, like, it was the cultural adaptation, because Egypt never closes. It morning, night, day, afternoon, Egypt just doesn't close. And it was such a big shift moving from my friends and everything. But I made really good friends with people in my program, and I ended up moving out of the resi and into an apartment, still in Sant Cugat, but in an apartment with one of my really good friends. And it was super cool. And I know a lot of people in the resi left with friendships that they moved into apartments together, or they have like their friend group from there, because you kind of do everything together.
Yeah, I think that the role of the resi the first year is quite key. But at the same time, you didn't go to the resi in the first year, Sophie. So I think it works differently for each person. But from the people that I know in the resi, they have told me exactly this, that like it allows you to like create a stable environment of people that you can see constantly and share this with them. Did you feel like the resi was that for you, or?
Yes and no. 100% I'm an apartment girl. I like having my plants and the sun and a living room, and apartments are the thing for me. But the residence was really key in having that your friends are just 2 minutes away from you. So you need, on the resi group, I need salt. Someone in the resi group has salt. I need olive oil. I need detergent. Does someone want to go for a walk? It's so easy to have this community instantaneously, which you probably, your first year was in an apartment, no, in the city?
Yes, so I wanted to go to the resi, but of course everybody wants to come to the resi at start, so it got filled. I got into an apartment. I didn't really know my roommate at start, but it was also really nice. And I think each time we want like maybe what we didn't live, because I was always with her thinking about, oh, what if we were at the resi and then we met people? But at the end, everybody comes so open to Esade. So I was wondering, how did you meet your first friends here?
I think there's like orientation day for first years, and we were sitting next to each other. And in BITLASI, you have this thing where you have to bring an object that represents you and you have a conversation. And I think I bought a shoe. And not because I love shoes, but because they're really cool Jordans and they're mismatched. They're like, one is yellow and one is red, and they have a bunch of different colors on them. And they kind of explain how I'm all over the place, but I'm intentional. And a lot of people came up to me and they were like, yeah. And then I went up to someone who brought a plant and someone else who brought something. And we kind of had a conversation. It was like, wow, these people are super cool. And I see myself in them, I guess. And it kind of went from there.
Yes.
Oh, nice. And moving on a bit to the more academic stuff, like the life at Esade as a university itself. How was the beginning of this academic journey? Because, for instance, I don't know you, Sophie, but when I started, like I remember so clearly that first class of applied mathematics, and I broke down. Like I thought I cannot do this. I'm so lost. But yeah, exactly. When I saw that, I was like, woof. But how was it for you? How did you manage like the academic side of it? Because the social one you did pretty good from what we can see. So
the social one wasn't always so good. Let's be completely honest. It's a little bit hard finding friends that feel the same to you, but you adapt. You get used to it, and then you start finding the people who are right for you. So to anyone who's just starting, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry. But for academically, BITLASI is very interesting, to say the least. So you go in and suddenly you have a design course and you're designing websites. The first year, you design websites. You have a self-marketing course. Suddenly you're thrown into philosophy and conversation. And you have online, like we're a hybrid program, at least the first year. And so you have online classes where you're learning Python programming and statistics and writing. And you're like, but why?
Like it's so many different things like put together, no?
For everything. And it's a little bit to adapt to the different systems, but also to the content. But once you do, it's so interesting. And I think what I really, really appreciate about Esade, because our professors are also your professors, just different. I really appreciate that they're very welcoming if you're intentional with what you're doing. So if you're interesting, which I found happened a lot. I'm interested in one of my professors, I'm interested in the class, and maybe they come for a week or they come for a guest session or whatever.
Okay.
I reach out to them and we have coffee in the BITLASI, in the BBA cafeteria. We don't have a cafeteria. In the BBA cafeteria. And it just goes from there, and it's super cool that you can find mentors as long everyone's super open as long as you reach out.
Oh, I definitely remember that, especially because I also understand that at the start it might feel a bit desperate. Coming now for the end of our third year and living for exchange, I think you look back and you see how everything has slowly built up to what we're learning now. And I also think it's so interesting about the professors. Every first class, they always introduce themselves, their background, and you're like, wow, you've worked at so many businesses. Some of them have been CEOs or head of a department, and they have so much to bring.
Something that I feel you gain experience throughout the years, and I don't know how you managed this the first year, but that was preparing for exams. I don't know if you do, because you said that you do lots of projects. I don't know if you do exams as well, or
we have exams. They're just a lot less than you guys, honestly.
Okay, but did you find it hard to manage at the beginning with that, the knowing that there was this 2 weeks when you were gonna have full-on exams and that you were gonna have to be with closed doors at home?
I think it's getting used to that exams are so different than before. So I did IGCSEs and then I did IB, and for both of them, kind of the exams are understood. There is a template per se, and you get used to how exam questions are asked. It's an institution, not a professor thing. And then you come to Esade and it's very much dependent on your professor. I think in any university in the world, it's very much dependent on your professor when it comes to courses and exams. And so getting used to understanding, okay, other than the syllabus, what does this professor want from me?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the open-ended questions, which I find them easier slightly than multiple choice because I'm the most indecisive person on the planet.
Yeah, no, yes. Absolutely.
Especially when they're all of them are right, but there's one that's most right. I'm oh my God, this feels like philosophy.
You and I have just suffered this a lot because we've just finished exams now, and it's literally been all multiple choice. And yeah, I know, I completely agree. It's tricky. It's tricky.
And you think the multiple choice is going to be easy because it's multiple choice, and then you go into the exam and you're just sitting there and you're I swear I studied.
Yeah. And for the work-life balance, would you say that you've been able to find that right spot between enjoying a city which is not your own your homeland, let's say, so getting to know it and going out with friends and so on, but at the same time knowing that there's times where you need to sit down, work a little?
I think the first year and maybe a bit of the second year in the beginning, you're getting used to it. You're deciding what to balance. Some people say, oh, I'm going to really, really focus on academics and studying. And then they leave the social aspect out of it. Yeah. And then some people really focus on the social aspect.
Yeah, a little too much. We know a couple or two, yeah.
Everyone just turned 18. Also, it's not like you're in the US here. Everything is open as long as you're 18. And so everyone's out, they're experiencing new things. For a lot of people, you're away from home for the first time, so you have an extra level of freedom. So it's kind of hard to adjust. But I think we kind of forget that there's a third aspect to it. And I'm going to be a little bit philosophical in this, but us aspect, because we focus so much on us doing well socially and us doing well academically, and you forget that you as a human being have needs and emotions. And
absolutely,
there's and even if it's not a gym, but it's just taking the time to cook for yourself and move your body and all those things. And I think for me it was super hard my first year balancing all that. Freshman 15 is not a lie.
I find that so interesting because I think that before, especially maybe for you and I, that we left our houses, living in the comfort of our family, of this pre-established routine, you don't really take the time to know yourself as when you get here and you get to make those decisions by yourself.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a bit more about how that was like?
No, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. No, my mom's an amazing chef, honestly. I love her and her food. And I enjoy cooking, but it was this you cook for yourself, all your meals, and it's super fun, super nice. But it's this whole process where you feel like it's an extra thing you have to do.
Yeah, for sure.
When it's just a nice thing to do for you.
Those, I feel like you've learned a lot of lessons like this one that I still have yet to learn, and I feel like I'll just face them whenever I start my internship or something. But that's the thing. Like I've always had this support system around me, my family throughout the entire PBA, and so I feel like that really changes the way, not for better or for worse, it's just different. Like I don't need to worry about like the meals and so on, but at the same time I agree that there's a side to it of getting to know yourself and like spending time with yourself and knowing what's right for you. So I think that's a very good aspect of moving away and, you know, leaving your family behind, and so you really feel like you've gotten to know yourself a bit more. Like, would you say so?
I think so. Now, my third year here, yes.
Okay.
It took a minute,
Right.
but yes.
And would you say that you had to like renounce to anything when you started uni? Because we've been talking about like family, like beyond family, and would you say that personally there's something that you, well, I would guess maybe friends from Al Cairo, or like getting to, you know, chat with them regularly, or
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of my friends left too, and so when we were starting off, it was a lot of us were starting off in a new place, apart but together.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad the first year. The thing I miss most, honestly, is my grandma's food. I think my grandma's food.
I would too.
You're having this aspect of, whenever you want it, you have a community. Because Egypt is very, like South America, Egypt is a super like community-based
Culture.
country. Exactly. And so at any point in time, you always feel like you're surrounded with people. And at least for my like friends who are from, South America, you would see it's kind of like a magnet. They're grouped together, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the same with like the Egyptians here or whoever. You feel like there's like a magnet that groups people together, and that doesn't mean that they solely hang out together, but it just means they make this like alternative community, because when you feel like you want to be at home, there's people to feel at home with.
And going back to the living aspect of it for just a second, because we were talking before, you can answer this question I think pretty good, in the sense that you've lived in Sant Cugat and in Barcelona. And so would you say that it's better to be near the campus and living in Sant Cugat, or that you need to go to Barcelona and like live full on the city?
I think after a year and a half in Sant Cugat, 100% Barcelona was the right choice for me.
Okay.
Sant Cugat is so nice, and it's just a bit secluded. And so there's like so much greenery, it's super calm, it's a nice place to live, but I can only see myself living here if I'm a lot older or if I'm a lot younger. And I think right now is the time where you get to experience Barcelona for Barcelona, you know?
I think for me, it kind of diverses a bit, because I've grown to really like the fact that our university is in Sant Cugat. I think that taking the train every day, I started to read, do a podcast, and it's also so much more calmer. You have all the green, as you said, and Barcelona is a city that's always like buzzing. There's always stuff happening. So I think you kind of get that balance between both of them. And so when you finished the residence, like how was your process of moving out of there? Like, you stayed in Sant Cugat for a while after?
Yeah, I moved in with a friend in an apartment that was 5 minutes away, which was a super nice experience as well. But I've grown to like the commute, like you said, to Barcelona. I think, surprisingly, I have more energy coming in with 40 minutes, 30 minutes worth of a commute than the 5-minute walk that I took every morning from my apartment.
Yeah. And also something that I think that is not talked about enough is actually getting the rent and, you know, like meeting landlords and handling all that, because it can be tricky. I mean, I guess I've heard from people that have like trouble, you know, speaking to the landlord, finding an apartment, down payments and so on. So how was that experience for you? Was it nice? Was it smooth, would you say, or
You're going
was
to
it a
make
bit
me
more
cry.
tricky? What was it?
You're gonna make me cry. No, my first experience moving into an apartment was super nice, but I was very lucky that my friend already had the apartment rented out.
Okay.
And her roommate moved out, and so I was moving in. So it was very swift transition.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah.
Of just adding me onto the contract.
Okay.
But right now, me and one of my friends are looking for an apartment for next year.
Oof.
And oof is the right answer.
Well, I'm actually leaving an apartment, so
You're
we
leaving an
might
apartment?
connect later.
Stop.
Yes.
That's awesome.
There's a match here. There's a match. Now we have 2 closing questions. So the first one will be, which professor would you choose to start a startup and why?
For me, I don't know if you guys know Monica Casabello. And she kind of founded BITLASI. As a human being, she's amazing. I genuinely do really appreciate her. But also as someone who's worked in the industry and someone who's decided they want to innovate, whether that was outside of the academic world or when she came in and became a professor, I think she'd be awesome, not only as a mentor, but as a partner. But no, this is very, very up in the sky dreaming type of
Okay. And the second one would be,
what advice would you give to your first day of college self?
No, this is so funny because I had a really bad first year, like really bad first year. And I don't think I really touched base on that, but I just want to say it because I want people to feel like it's completely okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm super grateful that I had that bad year. I think I'm a realistic optimist or an optimistic realist.
Okay.
So I'm super appreciative because if I didn't have the bad year, I wouldn't be where I am now. But I tell myself to take a deep breath and kind of trust myself a little bit more.
And now we will move on to some closing questions for our interview, if that's okay.
So the first one is, we've all been students. So how many classes have you skipped in your life?
Not that I've skipped a lot, okay? But I promise I haven't skipped a lot, but I don't really count them. Esade has an 80% attendance policy.
Yeah,
I've never missed more than the 20 years. Exactly. Yeah. I've never failed a class because I missed enough classes. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Perfect. And then the following one is, if you could invent a new subject, what would it be? What would you call it? And what would it be about?
One of our first activities, our orientation week at BITLASI, is there's a master's garden, and we started gardening, planting like plants and flowers and things. And I think it's super interesting if we have an ecosystem class or course, but based on the actual physical ecosystem, and we're not just talking about like the business ecosystem or the social ecosystem.
Bueno, pues that's it.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Thank you for your time.